In the late 15th century, Hungary stood as a unified, dominant force in Central Europe. Within 50 years, this entire state would cease to exist. A century earlier, King Louis I had tapped into a vast network of precious metals. The yield from Hungarian gold mines turned the kingdom into one of the wealthiest realms on the continent. This wealth bought professional security. King Matthias Corvinus used the treasury to build the Black Army, a full-time, standing military, at a time when most European monarchs still relied on temporary peasant levies. By the late 1400s, the kingdom possessed the two ultimate pillars of state survival: an overflowing royal treasury and an unstoppable centralized army. Within a few decades, that security vanished. The legendary Black Army was disbanded, and the royal treasury sat empty. This map reveals the bankruptcy's root. The 1222 Golden Bull granted tax exemptions to the nobility, diverting wealth to private estates. Later, the Tripartitum laws gave nobles absolute power over the peasantry, cementing their right to refuse funding the state. The military consequence was immediate. Without tax revenue, the crown could no longer pay its soldiers. Men guarding the southern border garrisons abandoned their posts, and the centralized defense grid was left to rot. The Hungarian elite hollowed out the state's capacity from within, sacrificing the kingdom's security to insulate their own fortunes and leaving the borders defenseless. Right as those defenses failed, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent marched a highly organized Ottoman war machine toward the Hungarian border. In August 1526, King Louis II had to confront this advance at the Battle of Mohács. Because the state was bankrupt, he rode out with a fractured, underfunded force that lacked the numbers to hold the line. The engagement lasted mere hours. The Hungarian forces were obliterated, the king was killed in the chaos, and the realm was left with a total power vacuum. The slaughter at Mohács represented the terminal structural failure of a hollowed-out kingdom meeting an expanding, centralized superpower. Instead of uniting against the Ottoman advance, the Hungarian nobles used the king's death to seize power for themselves, tearing the country apart. This map shows the resulting fracture. Factions elected Archduke Ferdinand I in the west and John Zapolya in the east. Both invited foreign empires to back their bids. For a quarter century, Hungary became a proxy battleground between the Ottomans and Habsburgs. The nobles' quest for absolute domestic control effectively surrendered the nation's sovereignty to foreign emperors. The paralysis peaked in 1541 at the siege of Buda. When Habsburg forces tried to take the capital, Suleiman arrived with his army, claiming he had come to rescue the infant Hungarian king, John II. Suleiman then executed a masterclass in deception. He invited the top Hungarian nobles and leadership out of the city and into his royal tent for a feast. While the leadership feasted, Ottoman soldiers strolled into the Buda fortress, acting like unarmed tourists until they suddenly drew their hidden weapons. Back at the tent, Suleiman declared that the black soup is still to come, referring to coffee. It was the signal to spring the trap and arrest the Hungarian leadership. The historical capital fell without a single shot being fired, proving that a divided and paranoid leadership is easily outmaneuvered by a unified power. This trick confirmed the death of the unified Renaissance superpower. Hungary was now permanently broken. This map defines the new regional reality. Habsburgs annexed the west, Ottomans ruled the center, and the east became a vassal state. In 1570, the Treaty of Speyer solidified these borders. The east dissolved its claim, becoming the Principality of Transylvania. Hungary wasn't murdered by foreign cannons alone. It was paralyzed from within long before the final blow landed. There is a stark lesson in statecraft here. When a ruling class prioritizes tax exemptions and privileges over the basic maintenance of the state, they dismantle the mechanisms of their own survival. Liberty for an elite class, divorced from responsibility to the nation, creates a fatal power vacuum, and that vacuum will always be filled by the expanding empires next door.